Okay, Lakefront Empire, episode 7. Yeah, that thing. And we're coming at you from Kansas City, Missouri. We're here in Kansas City for the State Missouri Realtors Business Conference, but that's no excuse to be lazy and not record Lakefront Hangover.
Absolutely. The people want to see our post episode showing, right? You know?
And we had a big episode last night.
That was an episode that we were probably second to Charles' episode, but one I was really excited to get to watch.
Yeah.
So
I had a lot of comments about the Charles episode.
I continue to get comments about Charles' episode, walking around town and everything, bumping into people. I actually bumped into Charles the other day. He's moved to the lake, and I was walking into the grocery store, and he was out in the parking lot, and he flagged me down. We sat there and chatted for a few minutes.
Yeah. Has he had any comments to him or anything?
We didn't talk about that so much yet, but he just was happy to be full time at the lake now, and it was good to see him.
Great guy. Great guy. So let's get into this. So we had 2 different spots on this. So we had Sierra working with Amanda, and Amanda.
This is her first episode for Lakefront Empire.
Trying to break into the Lake of the Ozarks.
Yes, sir.
And then you bought your house.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is 100% legit.
Yeah. We bought that house last year, and it was like they were talked about in the show so much. Nancy and I had been loosely shopping off and on for several years. So we had a really nice house that we had lived in Inland Creek, basically on the other side of the highway, kind of out in the country a little bit. That it was a nice home, and our family had bought it years ago, as you remember, and we, ripped it down to the studs, completely rebuilt it.
We're talking about your old house.
My old house. Yeah, the old house that Nancy and I were living in. We lived there for basically 13 years.
Yep.
And, it was something that provided a home for us to live in. We really enjoyed the privacy it offered out in the country and everything. But as you mentioned in the show, Nancy's more of a subdivision, neighborhood kind of girl, streetlights, sidewalks, neighbors all around. And, where we were living was a nice neighborhood before, but it was a little bit more country than she wanted to be. And, she would be one of those who would tell you she either wants to be out in the country, like on 20 plus acres where it's just us in the house, or in a nice subdivision somewhere. And so we had been loosely looking off and on if something would pop up, and there would be things that we liked, but nothing that we fell in love with and could say, oh yeah, this is a house we could see ourselves living in. So we had made a few offers here and there on other properties, but during the market being so crazy, I was always never willing to get into a bidding war with anybody. And so it hadn't worked out, but this one did. And we've lived there now for almost 6 months or more or something, and it's definitely felt like home.
It makes me think about something, and there's a lot of talk about privilege in the world today.
Sure.
But when you really think about it, when you are a real estate practitioner or a realtor, access to the MLS, you have a lot of privilege in the simple fact because you talking about, we had looked at houses off and on for several years. Well, that's the exact same thing that Carrie and I did when we were living in the condo. We had access to the MLS, so we could constantly always be looking at things no matter what. And then just, at a drop of a hat, just take off and look at a house.
Sure.
So there's a lot of privilege when you work in the industry that you have that little leg up that you can just go and look at houses all the time.
Yeah, and I think more about just having the flexibility that, you can jump and run anytime you see something come on the market.
Yeah.
With today's world of syndication, we have access to the MLS, but anybody, if you get on any of the major websites, Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, Homes.com, they have access to almost instantaneously what's coming available for them to see.
Well,
we have the access to the hardcore data.
Well, not only that, but we also have access to get in to the property instantaneously.
Absolutely.
Lockbox systems and being able to schedule showings, and luckily with our type of lifestyle, we can cut out of the office real quick. There's not a boss saying, hey, no, you have to be here from 8 to 5. So we're able to just jump and run and go look at a house. And if we feel that it's the right house, then we call the spouse. It's a lot of privilege in that when it comes to real estate.
Absolutely. There is some, quote, privilege that you're calling it there with the flexibility that we have. But I found that a lot of people have set up their lives that we work with that have got the ability to either jump and run and look at things, or even now, something that happened during that COVID market, that really was a big change is the amount of virtual showings that you're seeing nowadays.
Yeah.
We did so many virtual showings during that market because it was so competitive.
Yeah.
It was literally how often, multiple times a week, you'd get something come on the market, like drop everything you're doing, go show this house.
Yeah.
You're calling your clients, hey, are you available to run down here? And they could have been in Kansas City, St. Louis, or wherever they're at, and they're like, I can't just drop and go. Okay, we'll dial up a video call and walk through and show them what they're seeing, and they have that trust and faith in you that you're going to show them everything and be their eyes and boots on the ground. That was a big evolution in the market now.
Yeah, and I hate to say, there were a lot of good things that came out of COVID, and with the technology that really got pushed out, do you find yourself doing a lot more video showings?
Oh, still today.
Yeah.
I've done it. I've had clients I've been working with that, they're down in Florida or whatever, they're on vacation, and something pops up that it's like, oh my gosh, this is something they might like.
Yep.
They can't just hop on a plane and fly back here, so you set up a video call.
Yeah.
And I've sold homes that way before.
It goes back to that old adage, when one door closes, two more open. So, you did have a very scary time, scary situation with COVID, but look at all the technological advances that did happen, especially in our industry.
Absolutely. The market's always, like any business, is always changing, and you've got to be on top of the change if you're going to survive in the market. And so
let's talk about your buying experience. So, of course, I got to bring it up. Yes, I'm terrible at golf, and I did shank.
You're not terrible at golf.
We actually shot that golf deal. They gave me 6 tries, and that was my best shot.
Yeah, you're not lying. It was sad. Because I so often will tell people, you and I and our group of friends that we golf with, we're all pretty similar.
Yeah.
We'll all go out and golf, and any random day, one person might have a better round than the other, and then the next day, the next person has a better round. But when we played tournaments, or like when you used to have, remember Men's League at Sycamore Creek?
Oh, yeah.
We'd have the end of the season tournament. People would just get really mad at you because it's like you tanked the entire season up to the tournament to boost that handicap up. Then we go out there, and me and our buddies, we're doing the best we can to play as strategically as we can, and you're out there just playing and knocking in great shots. And so I would say Justin's more of a pressure player. He could
Not this time.
Yeah, but when you took the camera on you,
it was terrible.
That particular moment, it's like, man, you couldn't buy a straight shot.
No, it was terrible. Finally, I remember after like 5 or 6 shots, I went over and I grabbed my 60-degree wedge and I just whacked that straight in the air, and I looked at the director and said, hey, movie magic that. And I remember him calling me later and he goes, yeah, we used one of your shanks.
That was bad.
Oh, well. It is what it is. So, no, but we had that, that's our home course, Margaritaville, the Oaks, Margaritaville.
Golf course.
Great
Grew
golf
up playing
course.
there.
You get a chance to play that course. It's a great course. And
pretty challenging. You've got to have some good control of the ball to play that course.
And we're not getting any money from them or free, memberships. We still pay our membership, but it's a great course. So we did that, and then, we really discussed, and of course we'd been discussing for years, you and Nancy buying a different house, and Jonas, he takes his time with everything. And so anyways, so we went to 507 Highline.
Yep. Yeah, that was your listing.
Yep.
They're in Lake Ozark, Lakefront Home. So.
My fraternity brother and his wife, fabulous people. They bought the house, decorated it, Airbnb'd it. It was a great house because you and I have both always wanted to have a lakefront house.
Yes, it's always been a dream of ours. You and I grew up the Lake of the Ozarks, as everyone knows, but we've never truly lived on the water.
Yeah.
You and I grew up in Tantera. Wonderful home, great experience growing up out in the estates portion of Tantera. The closest I ever came to living on the water was, I had 2 different summers where I rented an apartment. One summer I rented a condo, another one where I rented the lower part of a basement, basically, which had a lake view, and it was beautiful, but never truly lived on the water. And that's still my goal. My ultimate dream is to get onto the water, which is part of the reason why you selected that home as one for us to take a look at.
Yeah.
Even though it was significantly above the budget that I had set there.
Oh, God, it's just money.
True.
So it's only money. I mean, have you ever seen a hearse with a U-Haul?
Probably not.
No. So, but overall, the house did not work. I mean, it was a true lake vacation home. There was no garage, so you would have had to have added a garage to it.
Yeah.
The driveway needed a lot of work to it, so it was pretty steep. But again,
beautiful house.
Beautiful house.
I mean,
the
wouldn't have to do anything
architecture with
inside.
The A-frame was great.
And I'm not a big A-frame guy, not a big fan of A-frames, but that particular one was beautiful with the vaulted ceilings, the big wall of windows looking out on that nice view of the cove.
Oh, yeah. Great cove.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that would be the ideal setting for living on the water, to have a great cove like that where it's nice and wide. You got plenty of room for your dock and swimming and everything, but still protected enough from the rough water of the main channel that you know that any time of day, even on Saturday afternoon, you, your family, your kids could go down, swim into the lake and not be at risk.
Yeah.
You know? So if we had been looking for a second home, you know, that would have been one that would have been really a lot of interest in it.
Yeah.
So because it was move-in ready, didn't have to do anything. Parking's a little tight, but that's, you know, common Lake of the Ozarks. So you could spend multiple millions of dollars and still have, you know, challenging parking sometimes. So,
and they were doing really good on the VRBO Airbnb income. So I mean, they were doing quite well. I think, you know, they were actually profiting with a mortgage and all their expenses on it. So it was a great house, especially, you know, if you wanted to do lakefront vacation as well as make some money off it. It was a good house. But
well, and our favorite feature, as it was highlighted, and you know this about our lifestyle, is we love, especially on the weekends, to hang out on the back deck. You know, relax, grill. I love grilling dinner Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. You know, kicking back and relaxing on the back deck, and to have what you had there, multiple layers. You know, back deck area where you could hang out, enjoy the view, cook dinner, relax. That was a great, you know, other than having the private dock, that was one of my favorite features of that home. So,
but you didn't buy it.
No, sir.
Which is okay. We sold that house at the end of last year, so that worked out well. And so then comes the house that you bought, which I don't want to disclose the address because I don't want the paparazzi.
We know it's in Lynn Creek and everything, but
but you're in a great neighborhood. You've got the 2-story house with the back deck, the backyard. You got the boat slip. You got a 3-car garage. I mean, what more could a guy ask?
It was. I mean, even now, looking back, Nancy and I talk all the time. You know, more me than her. You know, have really fallen in love with the floor plan of this house. The way it's laid out, it's just well thought out. You know, we had it bought. We bought it. We had our inspector check it out, and he really raved about how quality construction that house was built by and everything. And we've talked about how someday, if we can, you know, afford to buy a lot on the water and build a house, we would build this house. We'd just stretch it. You know, expand it a little bit more space, get another bathroom downstairs, you know, maybe an office area or something. But this house is, we love it. It's everything that Nancy and I have been looking for the most part. You know, I would say it's like 90% of everything we wanted. And I've never sold anything to somebody where you didn't have to compromise on something. You know, but Nancy loves the house. The neighborhood is great. We got lots of friendly neighbors. We went to a, you know, Christmas party, you know, the neighborhood Christmas party last year, and met a lot of the new neighbors and everything. It was really nice. And you know, we're excited that they've got the community pool down the road. So, you know, we take the boys down there anytime during the summertime to go swimming and enjoy that. We got and right below the pool is the community docks where our boat slip is. So we're already planning on getting, you know, fishing rods set up down there and everything. So Evan, if he wants to, he's kind of getting into outdoor stuff, fishing and hunting. So if he ever wants to just get on his bike and ride down to our dock and do a little bit of fishing or something, he can do that.
It's going to be great. Great house. So let's pivot over to Amanda. So Amanda, this was the first time we saw her on the show. She's out of St. Louis.
Yes, sir.
Coming down to the Lake of the Ozarks. I think it was really interesting because you don't see it a lot. Most of the time, people coming from outside the area they never do what Amanda did, and she actually partnered with a local agent to do a referral system.
I think that was a brilliant idea on her part. You know, I often say simply having access to the MLS does not make you an expert on the market.
Absolutely not.
And we've got this MLS of choice now where a lot of realtors, you know, regardless of what your primary market is, can join an MLS, get access to it, and be able to sell real estate and collect a commission. Which I was highly impressed with. What Amanda did was employing Sierra, who is like us, a second generation realtor at the lake, someone she felt comfortable that she could have a good working relationship with. And if, you know, basically kind of like a mentorship, you know, Amanda could lean on Sierra to help her, you know, guide her on some properties to look at, probably how to structure contracts, represent her client to protect their best interests. And in exchange, Sierra got a portion of the commission.
Yeah.
And I think that's a brilliant idea. I mean, you and I would never, I'm speaking for you as well, but I know this to be a fact that you and I would never go to a market we're not familiar with to try and represent a client.
Oh, no.
That's not in what we believe in doing. Plus, we have a good network of people we know. We can just refer it to somebody else. Yeah. But if for some reason we ever wanted to do that, I think that's a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
To find somebody that's knowledgeable and well experienced in the market that you can work well with, and offer them a piece of the pie in order to provide you with the guidance that you need.
I was talking to a newer agent who's getting ready to move to a different state, and she asked me, what would you do if you were in my position? Mm-hmm. And I told her the first thing I would do is wherever you're moving to, I'd find the best real estate agent I possibly can, and I would offer to work for them as their personal assistant for 6 months, free of charge, just to learn the market, the ins and outs. Because let's be honest, our job is not to find your house.
Yeah.
I mean, Zillow, Realtor.com, Trulia, all these different websites, all, the Remax, the Keller Williams, the John Fro Real Estate websites, everybody's got the houses. They can find the houses. Our job is to make sure you don't buy the wrong house and to protect the investment that you're buying by getting all the title work, the inspections.
Yeah, truly guide you through the process, because most people only buy and sell a home a couple times in their lifetime.
Yes.
So it's still, even if you've done it once or twice, if there's 10, 15 years in between the times that you do it, the market changes, everything changes. It's good to have a realtor that's knowledgeable and does this multiple times a year for their clients to guide you through the process. And you made such a great statement about, like we talked about earlier, every business evolves, markets evolve. And there truly was a time, pre-internet, pre-syndication, where it was incredibly difficult for buyers to find properties. You had to look in real estate magazines that are often way out of date because it took weeks to get them publicized. Drive around town looking for signs and all that stuff. So with realtors, before syndication came along, we had basically all of the data, and it was up to the realtor to kind of find the house for them and show it to them. Nowadays, like you talked about, with syndicating to Realtor, Zillow, Homes, all those sites, it's all through more often where the buyers are saying, hey, I want to see this house, and this house. Yep. They tell us what they're looking for and what they like, and we still set them up and start emailing them stuff out of the MLS. But it's very often they're telling us, these are the homes I want to see, and then they're looking for you to reassure them that they're on the right path.
And how many times have people said, hey, I want to look at this, and this, and you said, no, you don't want to look at this one because this doesn't meet your criteria, or this one doesn't meet the criteria. And they're always like, oh, wow, I didn't know that.
That, or just interpreting what they're saying, what they believe that they want, and then it's up to you to explain to them the hangups of that. Yeah. The challenges, what they need to be aware of. Sometimes people call and say, man, I really want to buy a house, and they give you criteria and a certain price point. It's on you to say, you're not going to find it for that.
Yeah. I want a flat lot with deep water. Not gonna happen.
That's the unicorn. Yeah. That's the needle in the haystack. If you find it, it is worth gold.
Oh, absolutely. But the topography of the land. If the driveway is flat, it's going to be flat all the way out into the water.
Typically.
So if you got a flat driveway, you're going to have shallow water 95% of the time. If you have a steep driveway, you're going to have deep water.
And you got to think about it again. That's why they built the lake where dammed up that river is the natural topography of the Lake of the Ozarks.
Yeah.
If everything was flat down there, you wouldn't have a place to dam up a river and have a lake now.
That's right.
For them to generate power.
That's right. All right, we went on a riff. We got to get back because we got to talk about Amanda and Sierra. So Amanda had clients, and they were looking at the houses. And what was the first house that they looked at?
The house up there on the bluff, there off of Bagnell Dam Boulevard.
That's right.
I'd actually showed that house before as well.
Yeah.
So, beautiful views. A lot of privacy. You think about it, there wasn't a whole lot of homes right around it. But right off the bat, you kind of knew there probably wasn't going to work because she had talked about how the boat dock was important to her clients. Yeah. And that was a nice home, and it could, if you are purely wanting a great view of the lake, that's a house for you. But if it's important to get on the water, and what was interesting, Sierra pointed out, that's not a true lakefront home in the sense that you didn't own all the way down to the water.
Yep.
So now it feels like it because there's nothing that happened between that house and the water, but still a gorgeous home.
Oh, absolutely. Great house. So that house didn't work out. Then they went to the next house where he almost hit his head on the ceiling.
Absolutely. That was, it's probably a little bit of an older home, a little bit of older floor plan and architecture and everything come across, but another beautiful home, which it actually appears that they, bought that house.
And we don't know for sure, so we'd have to ask Amanda and Sierra about that. They didn't ask us before they cut all this stuff up and put it on.
But they showed in the episode at the end what the purchase price was.
That's right. Yeah. Well, they showed the offer price.
Oh, they showed, okay.
But it didn't say purchase price, so we don't truly know if they did buy it or not.
Yeah, but so something that came out that you and I talked about, because they were using the term luxury. And also often people will say, if you put $1 million price tag on something and go on up, they instantly equate it to a luxury home.
Yeah, not the case anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we talked about. It used to be, if you got to, it didn't have to even be $1 million. It could have been $700,000-$800,000. It could have been a luxury home. But where the market's gone and how values have skyrocketed at the Lake of the Ozarks, a lot of times now $1 million doesn't buy you a luxury home.
No.
It could be a home that, is going to need some work done to it.
I mean, that $5 to $750 price range is usually going to require lots of updating.
It's going to probably be a little bit of an older home or a small home, that is justifiable, but it's been fully updated, but maybe not going to be a 2,500, 3,000 square foot house or anything.
We talk about the rise in prices of real estate. Funny story. I was at the grocery store the other day, and this young man who's a manager there, he looks at me because, I chat everybody up, and he says, "Hey man, when are these real estate prices going to come down?" I said, that's a great question. Come here, I want to ask you something. So he walks over and we go over and I said, "You see those eggs? When are those going back down? Or how about that milk?" So anyway, you look at it, real estate prices are up. Everything's up right now. I mean, everything. The dollar, it doesn't go near where it used to.
And there's what a lot of people have mentioned is that belief that the market slowed down, so eventually the prices are going to come down. Not the case. I mean, we pay attention to this all the time. In our industry as a realtor, you need to be paying attention to what the market's doing. And the biggest difference in our market today versus a few years ago is we're just not selling as much.
Yeah.
But the average sale price of these properties has not gone down. No. It's either staying steady or it had a slight little incline to it.
So I've talked to several builders and I've asked them all, "What's your price point per square foot?" Okay, to build a brand new house. And I think you have to pay attention to this because if you're looking to buy, what's your price point per square foot that you're buying an existing home versus what's your cost to build? And we all know, no matter how much you're building, double the time and add 20% to the price, right? But just to get into the bare bones basic, cheapest stuff possible, they're all saying 200 plus per square foot.
And that doesn't acquire the property. That's just
the land.
Yeah, so you got to buy the land and then spend bare bones $200 a square foot plus to build a house.
Yeah, I'm looking at trying to add into my rental property and build some duplexes. Well, if I do 8 units, 4 buildings, the best I can do with the purchasing power is getting down to like 175, 180 a square foot. So the moral of that story is, it's better to buy right now than to build. And I'm not saying anything bad about building in any way, shape, or form. I'm just saying it's cheaper to buy than it is to build right now. Which is always, do we build or do we buy? Well, weigh out the pros and cons.
Sure. I mean, the nice part about it, if you do build and you have the ability to, you can get exactly what you want. But it's going to take time. It's going to take heartache.
You ain't never going to get exactly what you want because everybody that builds a house always goes, I wish we would have done this.
Should have done this, done that, or whatever.
Yeah.
So, which a lot of times you see home builders, that's what their trade is. They'll build the same home multiple times, but each time they perfect it.
Yeah.
They say, okay, I should have put this wall here, or should have done this here, and you can see the natural evolution of the homes that they build over multiple times.
Very good point. Very good point. Well, it looks like we're at 24 minutes.
I'm so glad that we got to get through that episode. It was interesting. We're excited to see me and Nancy, on video buying the home. I know that our children, Johnny and Evan, were excited to see their pictures on national television. Evan was super excited about that. So It was a fun episode.
It was. And so that was episode 6.
Episode 6. There's 2 episodes left.
We thought we would know by now if they're greenlighting season 2 or not, but we have nothing. We have crickets. So
we've been told that it's had some decent, ratings, and people are watching it, recording the show. But we've been told, we have no clue yet whether they're going to, do a second season or not. So
if nothing else, we've enjoyed the ride. We've enjoyed the 15 minutes of fame, and we're just going to see what happens, and we're going to enjoy the ride.
Absolutely.
So I guess that's it for today.
Yeah, and absolutely, it's coming to you from Kansas City, home of the Chiefs.
Home of the Chiefs, and somebody's got to say it. Home of the Seitzer Burnett trial. So if you don't know about that, give us a call. So here we are, and Crown Plaza's right back there. It's a good time. So we're going to get back to our meetings. We hope you all have a great day. Thanks for watching. And as always,
go Chiefs.